entertaining and informative.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
77 WABC.
Perfect time here to bring on Alex Traiman. As we speak, I can see out of the corner of my eye to my left on CNN, new developments, official news, progress in ceasefire talks. Final details are being negotiated. And it's this really annoying kind of heavy set, which is nice for fat lady in a green suit that's on every morning. Talking to some guy, I don't know. Jim Shudo was just there on the ground in Tel Aviv. We've got our own guy on the ground in Jerusalem. He's the CEO of the only place to go to get any information on Israel. That's jns.org. He was kind enough to lend me his studios last year when I went to Israel. He's doing it again when I go back. 4 live shows, October 7th through the 10th. Believe it or not, 5 weeks away from my return trip to Israel. He's my dear friend, Alex Traiman. Alex, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. We're hanging in there.
Yeah, another crazy weekend. Let's start there before we get to this ceasefire stuff again for the millionth time. So you guys preempt to say, hey, we know what you're thinking, and just so you know, we're going to send you this. They come back. And now it seems like everybody's happy again, kind of like the last time back in April. And there's not going to be any exchange. In fact, I heard this morning that Hamas is actually really upset that Hezbollah, did what they did, and Israel intercepted almost all of it. And they're not coming back with more because it kind of destroys Hamas's leverage. So tell me about the weekend and what it meant, at least in the north, before we get to the south, moving forward.
Well, the situation in the north has been building for months, and it has really escalated in the last weeks with Hezbollah firing deeper and deeper and with greater frequency into Israeli territory. They are really harming the life of the civilians that live in the north, particularly in the Golan Heights. I have friends up there that are really ducking for cover, almost on a daily basis right now. And a couple weeks back, Israel took out Fuad Shukr, who was the number 2 in Hezbollah behind Nasrallah. And Hezbollah had pledged retaliation for that specific attack. Israel has been waiting for that retaliation, and intelligence demonstrated that Hezbollah was getting ready for the attack and, in fact, was planning to attack with a massive barrage of hundreds of rockets and drones deep inside Israeli territory on Sunday morning at 5 a.m. And in the moments before 5 a.m., Israel launched a major preemptive strike with over 100 jets taking out thousands of targets, which include most of the Hezbollah launchers that they had set up. And it's important to note that when you're about to attack is when you're the most vulnerable, because that's when the missiles are taken out of the storage facilities, out of hiding, and placed out in the open. Once that happened, Israel was able to pinpoint, locate, all of these locations, and within an hour to take out thousands of sites. The defense minister, the prime minister said that they believe that the IDF foiled anywhere from 50 to 60% of the intended attack. With these strikes, Israel shot down all of the drones, and the prime minister said that these drones were sent towards specific strategic targets in the center of Israel. It's been reported that they were trying to target a military base where one of the Mossad's elite units is located, and so they shot down all of the drones and really made Hezbollah look very bad. Yeah. But it's not that everybody's happy right now. The situation is still very, very tense. Firing hasn't stopped. Israel's been active in Lebanon today. Israel took out one of Hamas's commanders in Lebanon because Hamas also has a small presence in Lebanon. So Israel has been active and will continue to be active because, quite frankly, Israel's lost its sovereignty in the north. It has not been able to provide safety or security for its northern residents, and that is something that absolutely has to change. The prime minister said yesterday that Israel's action was, quote, not the end of the story.
Yeah, it's interesting. You don't hear Kamala Harris because she just doesn't know. She's stupid. All they talk about is Hamas ceasefire, Palestinian ceasefire. Do they have any idea that over 100,000 Israelis have been displaced? They haven't been home for the better part of 9 months? That the northern part of Israel, once loaded with trees and grass and beauty, is now basically a charred semblance of what it was? They never talk about that. They just go on and on about the stupid Palestinians. I'm sorry, but they are stupid Palestinians and all that nonsense. In the meantime, the North has taken a tremendous hit, and you've got 100,000 families that haven't gone home. Is that not worth mentioning?
Exactly. Israel's evacuated approximately 80,000 of its residents, but 80,000 residents from about 5 kilometers to the south of the border. But really, in the last several weeks, Hezbollah has been firing well beyond that radius, and now you have hundreds of thousands of residents that have really been under almost a nonstop attack. We're talking about 7,000 rockets and drones and anti-tank guided missiles that Hezbollah has launched at Israel since October 7th. And you bring up an interesting point about the Palestinians, and I really do believe that this conflict has been misrepresented from day one as just another extension of what people would consider an intractable Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But if you look at what's going on inside Israel, and yes, there has been an uptick in terror in Judea and Samaria, which is commonly known as the West Bank, but by and large, Israel's not fighting against all the Palestinians, and all of the Palestinians are not fighting against Israel. You have 250,000 Arab residents in Jerusalem. They, for the most part, have stayed extremely quiet. In 2021, you had riots of Arab residents, that associate themselves as Palestinians in mixed Israeli cities like Ramla and Lod. There haven't been any riots of Palestinians inside Israeli cities. What you have seen is that every single one of Iran's major terror proxies, the largest is Hezbollah, the smaller one is Hamas. You also have the Houthis, you also have the Kataib Hezbollah in Syria, all of them firing on Israel. So this is a war between Israel, Iran, and its terror proxies.
That's right, and that's why I blamed Biden back on October the 8th. I was the first to do that, me and Mark Levin. And I got to tell you, I'm not the smartest guy, but I've been right about this thing the whole way through. I really have, Alex, which is amazing, because until I saw you in January, I'd never even been to Israel. But I saw the dynamic. I saw what was going on. I see what's happening now with Harris and this group of losers that don't give a rat's ass about Israel. And then there's a report that comes out, and Curtis Lewa believes this. I don't know if I do. But the report was the reason why the last couple of weeks Iran didn't come back hard at Israel, even after Israel, as you said, killed their number 2, was because Israel handed over the names of 10 Mossad agents. But, the more I talk to you this morning, the more I'm starting to think it wasn't that. They didn't do that. It was United States did that, not Israel. United States did that. It was, I think, Iran is really nervous. I know they have all these terror groups and they're firing their rockets, but I think they know at the end of the day that Israel can wipe them out in about 15 minutes. Is that not fair to say?
It will probably take a bit more than 15 minutes as we see, how long it's actually taken in Gaza, but there's no question of the military superiority of the IDF against all of these terror proxies combined. And I think that yesterday morning's preemptive strike, or I would say proactive, it wasn't exactly preemptive because it came after 6,800 previous strikes. It wasn't before the first strike. But the idea that the IDF can locate, where these attacks are going to come from and to literally take out all of these rocket launchers in real time. And they just did that in 1 hour, thousands of targets. And the question is, why didn't Israel go all the way? Was there more that they could have done? I'll tell you right now, the residents in the north are very upset. And many of them are saying, why is it only that when Hezbollah is going to strike, strategic targets in the center of the country, like Tel Aviv, is that when Israel does what it needs to do finally against Hezbollah? But this is a threat that, it's every red line's been crossed 10 times over, 100 times over, and Israel really has no choice at this point. They have to restore their sovereignty in this country. They have to restore their dominance in the region. And the same way they degraded Hamas, they have to degrade the larger terror proxy, Hezbollah. And if they do so, that leaves Iran in a very scary predicament. And that is why you keep hearing about these ceasefire talks, because I do believe that there may be signals that Iran and Hezbollah will stop what they're doing if there's a ceasefire agreement, which would give them time to regroup and rebuild. Because a ceasefire is not a peace treaty, right? We're not talking about a peace treaty suddenly between Hamas and Israel, where Hamas agrees, that Israel is one and they're going to live side by side, in quiet for decades to come. A ceasefire in Arabic, it's called hudna, and what it means is a very temporary cessation of violence in which Hamas, or in the case of Hezbollah, that they would be able to regroup, rearm, re-strategize, and attack at the time that they see fit.
Right. So then you explain to me, I know we've got 109 hostages that we want, and I want them all back. And I love Rachel Goldberg, even though he showed the world that she's a liberal at the DNC. I'll say it. You don't have to. I still love her and I want to get her home. But I'm not going to put the future of Israel in jeopardy for 109 people. I know that sounds callous. I'm sorry. But I'm realistic, okay? I don't want a ceasefire. Ceasefire is no good. To me, if you want a ceasefire, you can't be pro-Israel. Pro-Israel is, I want to wipe out the enemy, really at any cost, to make sure the next hundreds of years we can live safely and in the state of Israel and not worry about getting bombed every couple of years. That's what Israelis should want, not a ceasefire. So CNN is saying that you guys are very, very close to coming to a ceasefire deal. Do you believe that?
No, I don't think that Israel's coming close to a ceasefire deal right now. The prime minister has been pretty strong in his position.
So how does CNN? They've said it 3 times. It's at the bottom of their screen. You are in the fun. Now, they have admitted that the last mile could be the most difficult, but they're saying you're very, very close.
From what I am understanding, the negotiating team of Israel has actually returned back to Israel, and that Hamas has basically rejected every proposal that Israel's put on the table. But Israel's not going to pull off of its demands of giving up the border between Gaza and Egypt, in which dozens and dozens of tunnels were found going back and forth between Egypt and Gaza, which enabled a tremendous amount of smuggling of weapons that's being used to perpetrate this war. So Israel's not going to give up that border. Israel is not going to leave Rafah. It's not going to permit terrorists to go back up into the north section of the Gaza Strip, where they will have an easier time firing rockets on the Israeli cities of Ashkelon and Ashdod and elsewhere. So it looks like a stalemate. I don't think we're going to get to a ceasefire anytime soon. And I'm not sure that it's in Hamas's interest to give back the hostages.
It's not. Listen, it's not. Let me tell you something. This guy, Sinwar, has turned out to be such a pussy. His last demands, he actually says, you can't kill me. Oh, we can't kill you? And now I'm reading all these stories, Alex, that he actually does leave the tunnels, but he dresses as a woman. He dresses in drag so he can walk the streets. Is all this true?
Yeah, the reporter said he's been going out and hiding dressed as a woman. But I'll tell you, when he's underneath the ground, he's running around like a rat. Who runs around in the sewers, in the tunnels, under New York City? It's rats. And this has been the strategy of Hamas. Instead of taking all of the money and the equipment that's been given to them by the international community for decades and using it to build up and to gain every kind of economic advantage for their people and live, in peace and prosperity alongside and with Israel. They just built this tunnel infrastructure so that their leadership could run around like rats and they could take hostages from Israel and to hide them out down there. But I think that Israel would be willing to allow an exit for Sinwar if if that was the term to get all of the hostages back. I think if it was Israel gets all of its 109 hostages back, however many it is,
you can go.
and Sinwar gets to flee, to Qatar, I think Israel would go for that.
Of course, we'll get them later. But we're not taking all of our IDF voices. They want them basically out of all these populated areas, including a bunch you just mentioned. They're not going to do that.
No. Will not do that.
Okay, good. I don't want them to. Well, listen, you're the best, man. I love talking to you. You ready for me to come back? Is Israel ready for me to come back?
We've been through a lot this year. We'll definitely have to brace ourselves because you're a force of nature. But I think if we can handle what we've dealt with until now, we can certainly handle a little bit of Sid Rosenberg this week. We'll be happy to have you.
Hezbollah versus Sid Rosenberg. No, I can't wait to come back. Thank you. I'm sure you will roll out the red carpet. I will have Shabbos dinner if you're okay with that. And maybe even Justin will come this time. He goes to his aunt and his uncle, so he doesn't hang out with us. But who knows? We're only 5 weeks away. We're looking forward to it. You and I will talk many, many times on this show before then. So as always, stay safe. Excellent job. Thank you so much. Love you.
Thanks so much.
My man. Alex Traiman right there, jns.org.